bit of a weird angle, but we'll roll with it. Alright. Boxed mac and cheese. You love it or you hate it. Either way, it's incredibly cheap, easy to get your hands on, but if you're a college student, you don't really have that many ways to make it. You can't rely on cut mac and cheese because not only is it just kind of bad, but also it's not worth the price. But if you want to do it the normal way, you can't. Because if you're like me and you're at the University of West Alabama in Gilbert Hall, you cannot have a stove because there's no stove and you can't have a hot plate or anything. There's very restricted items of what you can use. And that is why I have this. It's still a little dirty on the inside, but that's because I recently used it. I used it today for this exact same thing I'm making right now because I'm still kind of hungry because I haven't eaten much today. So, here we have just a standard Hamilton Beach electric kettle, and I cooked some mac and cheese in it earlier, and so now I'm going to show you how to make it. Get yourself your box of mac and cheese. I'm using Clover Valley because it's just better than everything else, except for Chestnut Hill, but there's no Family Dollars here. No, it's not. I can't. Which one is Chestnut Hill? I don't know. I haven't seen Chestnut Hill in a while. I haven't seen it since I was down in Mobile. So, first thing you're going to do, fill it with water. You're going to need a good bit of water to get some flow going. So we're going to go all the way up as high as we can. And by high as we can, I mean about at the max amount, which is a little over a liter. But we're going to go a little over that to about 1.3 liters of water. And we are going to turn it on. It'll take a while to boil, but once it does, you want to keep it boiling. But you're also going to want to make sure to be very careful. Luckily, it can be opened while it is on, and it has a strainer, so it has everything you need. As long as you can keep it open, you can manage the starch bubbles that will start popping up once you put the noodles in. But the thing you're going to want to prepare, of course, at first is the two ingredients that usually has to be put in. So I have a little thing here. Now, of course, they don't use the metric system, so I don't know how it is supposed to be in metric. So I can't use my beaker mug here to measure. You can't see it, but it's a beaker mug. So I can't use that to measure. Not really. It's also dirty, so I'm not going to use it. So, but if you don't have any way of measuring milk, the amount you need for about 1/4 of a cup is the size of a golf ball, which doesn't make sense when you're trying to do something in a cylinder. But imagine the mass of a golf ball in your head and then put in a little bit more milk than that. And then you're going to want to not use all of it when you're putting it in. Why? Because you probably went over. I'll be honest, it's really hard to eyeball stuff. It's really easy to go over. And then, of course, some butter. Of course, this isn't technically butter, it's imperial margarine stuff. But it's basically butter, so it doesn't really matter. Not to mention, it's like $1.80 for an entire box of it, which is 8 servings of mac and cheese, by the way, and then the box of mac and cheese is 85 cents, which is more than the 65 cents I remember, but inflation. Okay, gotta make sure you have everything. I have a fork and spoon. I don't know why I have the spoon, actually. I don't think I need it. I actually don't. But I will just leave it over there. And if you're curious how exactly I'm going to do it, I'm literally just going to pour the mac and cheese, the macaroni, straight into this. Because you can cook it or clean it. And the reason why this Hamilton Beach kettle is really good is that it can do this. It's sitting on a little copper connector, which is what allows you to pick it up and everything. And because it comes up at an angle, or it comes up at a little point in the middle, you can swivel it around and it doesn't change the connection. It's similar to how a AC motor works. Or no, DC motor, not AC motor. Well, AC motor kind of looks the same. Not the exact same, it still looks similar. Other than that, you don't really need much prep. I will go ahead and put the cheese over here. Now, this is different from my normal content, but that's just because I want to have a channel that's a broke college student, making broke college student food for broke college students. I won't be a college student after this semester because I'm just straight up quitting after one semester. But I want to, while I'm still here and I'm still using this thing, I'm going to teach you how to do it. Now I'm probably going to pause this because it'll take a little bit to have it finish boiling. Now with the water at about a full boil, we're going to open it up. Move the screen away. And then dump all of it in there. Oops, some of it's stuck because I got water on it earlier. That's why but I'm not just going to teach you how to make mac and cheese in a kettle. I'm going to teach you everything about it that I learned this morning. Well, not really this morning, but yeah. Let me get you unstuck. Gotta let the boiling movement do its job. There we go. Now, we're not going to keep it on the whole time, because that would be stupid. You can easily overboil it. But here's where the best part comes in. You don't have to keep stirring in the awkward position, because you can do this. As you can see, it's moving it around because it's moving. The speed of the water is different from the speed of the actual container, at least when you let go, because that's inertia. Good old physics. It's helpful. It's helpful to know physics. Now, every so often after you're done with that, you can turn it back on, but once it begins to overboil, you can turn it back off again. The boiling will also help with the actual movement of the noodles to make sure they don't constantly get stuck. Ooh, my glasses, I'll take them off. Forgot I didn't have them on earlier when I was making it. And this is just, I'll be honest, this is way easier than trying to use it, trying to do it in a normal pot. But the ability of the bubbles to help move around the noodles to make sure they get well sifted is something that also happens in pots if you pay attention enough. Of course, I know this because I've been making mac and cheese constantly since like the 5th grade. I learned how to make mac and cheese. I've pretty much constantly made it. And again, this screen right here, oh, you can't see on this angle. This screen right here is really useful because it allows you to strain it. Now, when it comes to actually testing it, it's just the same as normal. You just get some, you try to get only one. Of course, you can mix around the bottom to make sure nothing's getting stuck. Some things will get stuck to the corners. That is the case. I can tell you that for certain. Okay, it's not coming separate. Nope, not done yet. Oh. They will get stuck in right here, especially in spots like right here, where movement is very scarce compared to everywhere else. Especially because that part's next to the plastic. So you might want to get in and dig those spots out. But a lot of these corners will end up with pieces that are completely stuck together and will not move. But we're not trying to be perfect here. We're just trying to be enough. That is what living in college is. It's just trying to get enough. That's what I've learned since I started here. Almost finished with the term 2. It's almost mid-November. It should be, yeah, it's the 10th. And I'll get back to you when I'm at the next step. Now for the next step. Now that it is all tender on the inside, you can just pour it out. It will leak out some there. It's weird. Well, I think it's actually traveling down, but I can't see it. You can just drain it all out. And unlike some strainers where it'll try to flip out, because it's all sealed in there, thanks to the fact that you can't open this forcefully without clicking down the thing, you can get like the majority of the water out. Of course, here's the next spot. The next part is, of course, putting in the stuff. Not going to put in all the milk. You're going to put in a good bit. Though I always say, you want less milk to butter, because that makes it just better in general. And then, of course, you just do what you would do any other time and wait for it to finish. Of course, gotta let the lob of butter melt. Though, you can, if you want to, because you're sitting up against the microwave, you can just melt the butter in the microwave before you put it in, but I've always found that makes it worse. I'm not sure why. I think it's just because it doesn't let some of the milk evaporate, and having some of the milk evaporate always makes sure you have less milk than butter, because it takes longer for butter to evaporate than milk, at least from my experience. Again, I've been making mac and cheese for like 8 years straight. Constantly, almost like every day. Sometimes I would have, a lot of the times I would have days where the only thing I ate was mac and cheese and then a bowl of cereal for breakfast. Now we just gotta wait for that lob of butter that's in there to melt, and then we can go on to the last step before actual food preparation, which I will be saying, and then I'll go on to cleaning. Yeah. One of the problems with doing this is that it's hard to find the butter to make sure it's melted all the way. But now let's get back. So now that it's completely melted, we can go on to the last part of making it, which is just, of course, continuing the trend of things you would do with mac and cheese anyway. And that is to put in the cheese powder mix. Now, it is a little bit more difficult than normal to actually get it mixed in, but it's not much more difficult. The annoying part is just this thing right here. Gotta get it all good and mixed up in there. Make sure it doesn't get, all the cheese powder doesn't get stuck on the sides. It's really easy to forget to do the other sides. Because the cheese powder will get stuck on there and it'll be hard to mix it in properly. Now, of course, I once again have made it a little goopy, but that's just something I gotta get more practice in. I plan on making this a lot more because it's way cheaper than every time I don't have anything to eat, but I don't want to make another sandwich. It's cheaper to just make a thing of mac and cheese. And there we go. And now for the one of the last parts. Get your bowl and you dump it all in. Of course, I'm fat, so I eat the entire box at once. But you don't have to. That's just the way I do it. I'd recommend you dump it into a different container, like some sort of Tupperware, and use that instead. And then you can portion it into smaller sets. But I am here to get as much food as quickly as possible. Actually, grab that back. Again, they will get stuck in the corners. As long as they doesn't, oh, never mind, they're all burnt on there. Well, they're not really burnt. Which is a good thing, it doesn't really burn, it just gets stuck to the glass. And there we go. And then of course you can add whatever little extra stuff you want. You got your salt, you got your pepper, teriyaki if you like that. I got my own special seasoning blend that I put in there. And I mainly made it for chicken, but it's good for just about everything. As long as I don't put in too much like I did before. And of course you can mix it all in there. And now I've got some good old mac and cheese. But like I said, I'm going to teach you I'm going to show you a bit of a better way to clean it, which is to just not really worry about it that much. I do recommend you make sure you have something in here to stop your noodles from going all the way through. I'm just using the Scrub Daddy that's already in here, so any noodles that come out won't, just clog your train, which you really don't want it to do. I'd recommend you just swish it around in there a bit, put in a little bit of soap, but letting it do it by itself, by heating it up. Yeah, some water will splash around if you let it go too much. I do not recommend doing that. What my mom told me, which was not the right idea, was to put in some Dawn and then set it to boil. It absolutely destroyed the entire counter. There's a reason there's no thing here, which obviously was for the ability to have this whole plane, but also there's the fact that the thing that was normally in there, the mat here that's supposed to be for my finished dishes, got completely soaked and covered in soap. So as you can see, it's not fully clean, which if you clean it by hand, I don't know if you can actually see that, you can a little bit, and of course there's noodles stuck in there. But if you can, all you have to do is go in and dig them out. It's not that much of a bad clean. I saw a lot of thumbnails and article titles about the disaster of cooking mac and cheese with a kettle, but it's really not that hard. It's fairly straightforward. You just have a few more things to watch out for because you can't set the temperature to an exact amount. And of course, you're not really meant to cook solid stuff in here, but it does work. And realistically, you can use the same principle for everything, including stuff like ramen. And then of course, once you've got it all cleaned out and stuff, there may be some residue left, but most of it should be fine. And then you can get back to making coffee and tea using hot water. So yeah, there you have it. Very simple. I don't plan on editing much into this either. In fact, I might not edit at all. It'll probably just be straight on there. Either way, that's it. It's very simple. And now, got some mac and cheese. In a cold storm with nothing but a kettle. And that's just about it. You don't even need like a big ladle or anything. Just a little bit of milk, butter, and then you cook it like you would normally. Don't be afraid to try things. It may be scary, but this is the only way people ever figure things out to begin with. So be the one to do it.